I'm writing this down to document my trip to Sun Lake, an old theme park in the Everglades of Florida. The reviews online were surprisingly hard to find, and they often warned of safety hazards and odd occurrences. On average, they gave about a 2-star rating. As I'm walking up to this lake, which is more of a swamp, I can tell why the ratings are so low. It's more of an abused antique than a theme park. There were a few children and what I presumed a single mom in front of me at the entrance. I saw them walk into the distance as I asked the man in the front booth for a ticket. It didn't seem like the park had anyone walking around, besides the one mother and her children. I found that extremely odd. I turned awkwardly to the man in the booth and asked, "It's a little slow today, isn't it?" He completely ignored my small talk and handed me the ticket. Disregarding his rudeness, I grabbed the ticket hastily and headed in through the small entrance. My first impression of the park was founded on the fact that the walkways were simply dirt and rock. It didn't seem very impressive, but I guess it fit the theme. The surrounding area was covered in thick mud, medium-sized trees, and draping weeds. There wasn't much room to stray away, unless you wanted to risk meeting whatever creatures inhabited this park. So far, I've seen this place as a safety hazard, and alligators wouldn't be out of the question. Keeping that in mind, as I started to my first attraction, I was wondering how safe the torch-lit house would be. "Hello? Is anyone in here?" I stepped into the entrance of the ride, grabbed a plastic toy torch from a steel bin on the left side of the doorway, and pushed the on button. It gave me a dim light that illuminated the small hallway in front of me. I slowly walked forward with a firm footing, expecting someone to jump out of every corner or small crevice. A few minutes in, I started to realize there was nothing and no one to scare me. It was just some long, boring, yet admittedly ominous hallway. It was empty, and I mean empty down to the core. It was still drywall, and you could see where it was put together, almost like it'd been stripped. This couldn't have been acceptable, and at this point, I was just wondering how this park hasn't gone bankrupt. I shrugged and began to question myself aloud as I made my way to the next ride. The wacky water boat. Oh God, was I excited for this. I looked into the boat and saw that this time, the mother and children would be joining me. Still, no staff members or ride attendant to assist us. Just me and this weird little family. This weird little family that, just like the ticket seller, didn't pay a hint of attention to me. In fact, they just stared blankly off the boat, peering around me and into the murky distance. I decided since I've already been rejected once, it would probably happen again with these freaks. I sat in my seat, and the boat started moving automatically. More the wacky shit flinger. The family expectedly paid no attention, and I sat nervously awaiting the thrilling part of this thrill ride. The boat continued on what I assumed a set path through the dark water, and as it did, I felt the area close in on me. The trees in this area were more scraggly and bitter, almost as if they were clinging onto life in a moment of death. The water was mainly mud, and I'm not really sure how the boat continued moving through such a thick viscosity. The only thing of any note that I could see in front of us was a large, white, wooden building. Before entering the building, the boat made a low metal scraping noise and lifted itself out of the water, moving the track onto a white, peppered concrete flooring. The inside of the building looked much like a non-human present fish shop. The floor was replaced with algae-heavy water. As the boat made its way around a corner, I could see something peek its nose out of the water. An alligator. I started to panic and looked towards the other side of the boat to ask the mother, "Why is this place not shut down?" But there was no mother. There were no children. Or at least, that's what I thought. Until I peered off the boat. And out of the water raced 3 figures. Their skin, hair, and clothes merging with the algae. Their mouths gaping open and moaning as if they were grasping for life in a moment of death. There's a reason the park closed 3 years before I entered. The reviews were god-awful, employees were careless, and the ride attendees were almost never present. That allowed 2 arguing children and a distressed single mother to be consumed by Sun Lake.